The greatest battlefield you will ever stand upon is not a field of war, not a corporate boardroom, not even the challenges of the economy or the opinions of society. The greatest battlefield lies within the walls of your own mind. It is there, between your ears, that kingdoms are built or destroyed. It is there that men and women rise from obscurity to greatness, or sink from promise into despair. And the truth has always been the same. Command your mind, and you command your world. Every invention that reshaped humanity, every fortune that lifted families from dust to dignity, every speech that moved nations, every vision that rewrote the map of history, it all began as a silent spark in the unseen chamber of thought. Thomas Edison lit the world not with wires and glass alone, but with the unyielding conviction that his idea could not die. Henry Ford gave motion to the masses not because steel bent easily to his will, but because his imagination refused to accept limitation. Carnegie, Rockefeller, Jobs, Musk, names etched in the stone of human progress, were first etched in the minds of ordinary men who dared to believe extraordinary thoughts. But here is the truth most people never face. The mind is both servant and master. If you fail to command it, it will command you. If you leave it idle, it will not rest in stillness. It will turn against you, feeding on fear, doubt, and distraction, until your days are nothing more than wasted potential. Yet if you seize control, if you take the reins of your inner world, then the external world must eventually bow to the will of your disciplined mind. So let us begin here, with the foundation. Belief. Belief is the invisible hand that writes your destiny long before your pen ever touches paper. A man who believes he is destined to fail has already dug his own grave, even if opportunity stands knocking at his door. A woman who believes she is unworthy of success will sabotage her every step, even when the path is clear before her. But the man or woman who dares to believe, truly, deeply, unshakably believe, that they are destined for greatness, that individual becomes unstoppable. Abraham Lincoln lost election after election, faced ridicule, financial ruin, depression that would cripple most men, and yet, in the furnace of his belief, he forged the steel that would one day hold a nation together. Walt Disney was fired for lacking imagination, went bankrupt, mortgaged his life to a dream, and endured more rejection than most could stomach. Yet he held on to the vision of a world where imagination reigned supreme. That belief became Disneyland, became Disney World, became a kingdom of wonder that outlived him and continues to inspire generations. Do not underestimate belief. It is the seed of destiny, the soil in which all action takes root. But belief alone is not enough. For belief without clarity is like fire without direction. It burns, but it consumes nothing of substance. So you must ask yourself, what do you see when you close your eyes? What picture do you hold for your future? Do you wander through each day in a haze of vague wishes? Or have you carved into the stone of your imagination a vision so clear it demands manifestation? Napoleon Hill once wrote, "What the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Conceive, believe, achieve." The formula is simple, but its power is eternal. Clarity is the sculptor's chisel against the marble of potential. Without it, your mind remains a block of raw stone, immense, but unshaped, unused, unseen. With clarity, you chip away distractions, doubts, and the noise of the world until the masterpiece within begins to reveal itself. Andrew Carnegie conceived of steel not as brittle and weak, but as the backbone of a new industrial age. That clarity made him one of the wealthiest men to walk the earth. Steve Jobs conceived of computers not as cold machines, but as extensions of human creativity. That clarity created tools that changed how billions think, work, and dream. Ask yourself now, have you carved your clarity, or are you walking blind through the fog of uncertainty? Until you know what you seek, your mind cannot marshal its forces. Until you define the mountain, your will cannot climb. Once clarity is established, it demands something harder than vision: discipline. Discipline is the bridge between the world in your mind and the world beneath your feet. Without it, dreams remain daydreams, castles in the air that never touch the ground. But with it, the impossible becomes inevitable. Discipline is the quiet courage of waking before the sun when your body begs for sleep. It is the choice to work on your craft when no one applauds, no one notices, no one cares, yet you persist. It is the strength to silence the voice that says, "You've done enough," and replace it with the truth, "I can do more." Look at the lives of the greats. Edison failed thousands of times before the light bulb shone. Discipline kept him in the lab when others quit. Ford faced ridicule when he said he would build a car for the common man. Discipline forced him through skepticism until reality bent to his will. Oprah Winfrey faced rejection after rejection in an industry dominated by others. Discipline kept her showing up until the world could no longer ignore her voice. Discipline is not punishment. It is the highest form of self-respect. It is saying, "My dream is worth my discomfort. My destiny is worth my sacrifice." Those who command discipline command results, and those who command results eventually command the world. But discipline, too, requires its companion: resilience. Resilience is the armor of the mind, the shield against the storms that inevitably come. Because the world will test you. It will slam doors in your face, mock your ambitions, and drag you into valleys so dark you will wonder if the sun has abandoned you. But resilience whispers, "This valley is not the end. It is the training ground for your ascent." Lincoln's resilience endured a civil war that could have shattered the republic. Churchill's resilience held a nation together in its darkest hours, declaring, "We shall never surrender." Every entrepreneur who has ever been laughed at, every artist who has ever been rejected, every visionary who has ever been misunderstood. Resilience is the reason some of them are remembered while the rest are forgotten. Failure is never final unless you choose to stay down. Resilience is not the absence of defeat. It is the refusal to let defeat define you. When the storm comes, do not curse the rain. Plant your roots deeper. Strengthen your foundation. For storms are not sent to destroy you. They are sent to prepare you for the weight of greatness. And yet, resilience without gratitude becomes bitterness. Gratitude is the secret alchemy that turns struggle into strength, failure into wisdom, and delay into preparation. Without gratitude, every challenge feels like cruelty. With gratitude, every challenge becomes a gift. Carnegie was grateful for his poverty, for it taught him ambition. Disney was grateful for his failures, for they sharpened his imagination. Helen Keller was grateful for her blindness, for it gave her vision beyond sight. Gratitude is not weakness, it is strength. It is not settling, it is empowering. For when you learn to thank life for both the sunshine and the storm, you gain mastery over your mind. You realize that nothing can steal from you, for everything is fuel. And once you grasp gratitude, you unlock adaptability. Adaptability is the mind's ability to bend without breaking, to shift without surrendering. The oak that refuses to bend in the wind is uprooted, but the reed that bends survives the storm. Your vision may be eternal, but your methods must be flexible. Kodak once dominated the world of photography, They refused to adapt, and they collapsed into irrelevance. Meanwhile, Netflix began as a DVD rental service, but adapted into streaming, then into original content, then into global domination. The difference was adaptability, the willingness to let go of old methods in service of a timeless vision. The mind that cannot adapt becomes a prison. The mind that can adapt becomes a fortress. And at the heart of adaptability lies one final eternal principle: learning. Learning is not something you finish. It is not a certificate, not a graduation, not a conclusion. Learning is the lifeblood of growth, the oxygen of progress, the never-ending fuel of the mind. Carnegie surrounded himself with thinkers greater than himself because he knew the mind expands in the presence of knowledge. Ford built a team of minds to cover his own gaps because he knew one man's genius is never enough. Bill Gates reads relentlessly. Elon Musk devours knowledge across disciplines. Every titan of history shares this trait. They never stop learning. Learning is humility in action. It is admitting, I do not know enough, but I will. It is the difference between stagnation and expansion, between being trapped in yesterday's success and creating tomorrow's breakthrough. Command your learning, and you command your evolution. But all these principles, belief, clarity, discipline, resilience, gratitude, adaptability, learning, are not separate threads. They are strands of one rope. Together, they form the unbreakable cord that allows you to climb the mountain of destiny. Together, they form the structure of a mind unshakable, unstoppable, undeniable. And here is the truth. Once you command your mind, the world itself becomes pliable clay in your hands. You are no longer a victim of chance. You become the author of fate. You are no longer a leaf blown by the winds of circumstance. You become the storm. You are no longer a seeker of permission. You become the commander of reality itself. For the world belongs not to the doubters, not to the timid, not to the distracted. The world belongs to those who command their minds. And when you command your mind, you command your world. But let me speak to you directly now, because this is not just philosophy, not just history, not just lofty words carved in the clouds. This is about you, your life, your future, your mind. Ask yourself this question with brutal honesty. Who is in command of your mind right now? Is it you, or is it fear? Is it the discipline you claim to have, or is it the distractions that steal your hours, drip by drip, until your days evaporate into nothing? Is it vision that steers you, or is it the habits of survival, the whispers of doubt, the addictions of comfort that bind you to mediocrity? Most people will never ask this question because they are terrified of the answer. They live as prisoners inside their own skulls, chained not by iron, but by invisible shackles of thought. I'm not enough. It's too late. What if I fail? But those who rise, those who command their world, are those who dare to break these chains. They do not beg for freedom. They seize it. They storm the gates of their own limitations and overthrow the tyrant of fear that once ruled them. The mind is not a gentle garden. It is a fortress, and it will be occupied by you or by the forces of weakness that wait at the edges of your attention. If you do not command your mind, someone else will. Advertisers will. Politicians will. The opinions of neighbors and strangers will. Every voice that seeks to sell, manipulate, control, distract, they will happily plant their flags on the soil of your attention. But when you take command, when you draw the line and say, "This mind is mine and mine alone," you reclaim sovereignty over your life. And with that sovereignty comes power. Power not over others, but over yourself. Power not to dominate the world, but to shape it. Power to build, to create, to endure, to rise. The truth is simple but eternal. The world bends to those who first master themselves. Alexander the Great conquered nations, yet his truest wisdom was this: I am the master of my fate, only when I am the master of myself. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, wrote in the quiet of his journals, not about commanding legions, but about commanding thought, about stillness, about principle, about control over the self. The leaders of destiny always knew, the greatest empire is the empire within. So let us sharpen this truth until it cuts through every excuse. If you do not master your emotions, they will master you. If you do not master your time, it will vanish into nothing. If you do not master your habits, they will chain you tighter every day. Command begins with discipline, but ownership is the refusal to point fingers. It is the rejection of blame, the exile of excuses, the death of victimhood. You are not at the mercy of circumstance. You are the architect of response. Yes, you were born into conditions you did not choose. Yes, injustice exists. Yes, you may have been struck by hardships that would cripple lesser men. But hear this: history has proven again and again that those who rise are not those with perfect circumstances. They are those with unbreakable command of their response. Booker T. Washington was born into slavery. He rose to become one of the greatest educators of his time. Helen Keller was born blind and deaf. She commanded her mind so powerfully that she became a voice for millions. Nelson Mandela was imprisoned for 27 years. 27 years in a cell no larger than a bathroom. Yet he emerged not bitter, but stronger, more disciplined, more powerful than the men who locked him away. If they can command their minds in such darkness, what excuse remains for you in the light? Do not misunderstand. Command is not arrogance. Command is not cruelty. Command is clarity of will, discipline of action, and sovereignty of thought. It is walking into each day with intention instead of drifting. It is saying, this hour is mine, this task is mine, this future is mine. It is becoming a general of your own forces, your energy, your attention, your habits, your focus. And just as a general chooses his soldiers carefully, so too must you choose the thoughts that serve your mission. Because not every thought deserves a place in your army. Some thoughts are traitors. They whisper defeat before the battle begins. Some thoughts are deserters. They promise effort, then vanish when it's time to fight. And some thoughts are assassins. They creep into your mind, disguised as caution, disguised as realism, but their only goal is to kill your vision before it takes form. You must learn to recognize them. You must exile them. You must replace them with thoughts that sharpen your spirit instead of dulling it. For thought is the weapon, belief is the shield, and discipline is the armor of those who command their minds. But command requires more than defense. It requires offense. It requires daring, boldness, courage. Think of the pioneers who crossed oceans with nothing but wooden ships and untested maps. Think of the astronauts who looked at the black void of space and said, "We belong there." Think of the innovators who stared at impossibility and declared, "Why not?" This is the offensive mind, the one that does not wait for permission, does not linger in doubt, does not hesitate when opportunity knocks. The offensive mind seizes, it creates, it dares. When Henry Ford was told the V8 engine was impossible, he commanded his engineers, "Produce it anyway." They tried, they failed, they insisted it could not be done. And yet, he ordered them back again, and again, and again. Finally, they cracked the code. That impossible engine became the backbone of modern transportation. Command your mind to attack your goals with the same relentlessness. Do not retreat at the first obstacle. Do not surrender at the first defeat. Attack again. Attack wiser. Attack stronger. Until the wall that seemed impenetrable becomes rubble beneath your determination. And yet, there is a balance. Command is not chaos. Command is rhythm. Command is harmony. Command is knowing when to push and when to recover. For the mind, like the body, is a machine of cycles. It requires rest to renew its power. Command does not mean burning until you collapse. It means managing your flame so it never dies. It means discipline not only in effort, but in renewal. It means silence when the world is loud. It means reflection when the path is unclear. It means stepping back, not as retreat, but as preparation for the next strike. Edison slept in catnaps, managing his mind so he could produce endlessly. Da Vinci balanced wild bursts of creation with long hours of contemplation. The greatest commanders of thought understood intensity must be married to sustainability. Command is a lifelong pursuit, not a single campaign. So how do you know when you have truly commanded your mind? It is not when the world applauds you. It is not when your bank account swells or when your name is spoken with praise. You know you have command when chaos no longer shakes you. You know you have command when opportunity excites you but does not distract you. You know you have command when the storms of life break against you and you remain unbroken. You know you have command when failure does not destroy you and success does not intoxicate you. Command is calm. Command is steady. Command is power without noise. And when you reach this state, when your mind bows to your will, then look around you. Everything you see was once thought impossible. Electricity, airplanes, skyscrapers, satellites, smartphones, each was once dismissed as madness. But someone dared to command their mind enough to believe, enough to act, enough to persist. And the world we live in today is nothing more than the echo of their thoughts made real. Now ask yourself, what echoes will you leave? What world will exist because you commanded your mind? Will you leave nothing but a trail of forgotten hours and unfulfilled potential? Or will you leave behind a vision that reshaped the lives of others, a dream that outlived you, a world that was better because you dared to command yourself? The choice is yours. It always has been. So rise. Rise and declare ownership of your mind. Rise and seize belief with both hands. Rise and carve your clarity into the stone of destiny. Rise and build your discipline as a fortress. Rise and wear resilience as your armor. Rise and wield gratitude as your alchemy. Rise and master adaptability as your weapon. Rise and embrace learning as your eternal fuel. Rise, for the world does not wait for the hesitant. Rise, for history remembers not those who drifted, but those who commanded. Rise, for within you lies the same fire that burned in Edison, in Lincoln, in Ford, in Disney, in every soul who once dared to dream and refused to surrender. Command your mind, command your world, and let your life become the proof that within the silent fortress of thought lies the power to move mountains, to bend steel, to light the darkness, and to carve eternity into the stone of time.